everyone, this is the second in the series about Duchening today outside of the temple. We established last time that according to most poskim it is D'oraisa, but we try to relive as much as possible the proximity between Duchening and the sacrificial work, the way Aaron Kohen originally did it in Parshat Shmini. And therefore the Gemara in Sota Daf Lamed Chet Amud Bet says, Kol Kohen she'no ole ba'avoda, shuv eino ole. In the bracha of avodah, which is the bracha of ritzei, in which we ask God, V'hashevet ha'avodah lidbir beitecha, bring back the sacrificial work to your home, that's where the Kohen has to start making his way to the front of the shul, because of that pasuk in Parshat Shmini. Vayisa Aaron yadav el ha'am vayivarchem, he duchened, he put out his hands to bless them, vayirei me'asot hachatat va'olah v'ashlamim, after he did the sacrificial work. So we try to anchor that in our shuls, and therefore the Kohen has to start making his way towards the front of the shul during Ritzei. Now, to make it clear, he doesn't have to make it to the front of the shul per se. He has to start walking, moving towards Duchening. He has to take the first step towards the front of the shul, and that's what's paskened in Shulchan Aruch, Kishematchil Shatz Ritzei. Kol Kohen shebebeit knesset nekar mimkomo la'alot l'duchan, v'af im lo yagiel l'shamat sheyitzayem shliach tzibur Ritzei. You have to start making your way, even if you don't make it by the end of Ritzei. But if he didn't go, then he does not duchen. And therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says, even if the Kohen is the chazan, under certain circumstances he should duchen, but he has to ya'akor raglav me'at ba'avodah. He has to move himself a touch during Ritzei. He can't stand with his feet together. So, from this perspective, we try to somehow leave that proximity of Ritzei, the bracha that talks about the avodah, with the actual duchening. And therefore, the Mishnah Berurah who paskin that you stop your silent Amidah to duchen says that under the circumstances that you do, tzarich la'akor raglav v'tachak tefillah k'shomer hashliach tzibur Ritzei. Well, if that's the case, it seems like Ritzei is a very much of a sacrificial kind of a bracha, to the extent that everyone calls it avodah, and everyone says that's the point, we have to start making your way to the front of the shul. Well, if that's the case, to what capacity is it really avodah? There's a Gemara in the Staf in Menachot that says, Olam Zot al Yisrael will always be on the Jewish people. Amar Rav Gidol Amar Rab, Zemizbeach Panuyo Michael Sarah Gadol Omed, Umakriv Alav Korban. Rav Gidol, in the name of Rav, said, this is a real McCoy altar, and Michael, one of the angels, are actually bringing a korban on it. The Tosfot comes along and says there's two ways to understand this particular Gemara, and it has ramifications on how we say Ritzei. Literally a question of punctuation. One is to say like this, God, bring back the sacrificial work to your home, together with the korbanot of the Jewish people. And then we continue to say, accept their prayers. Namely, yesh misha omer nishmotehem shel tzadikim, today, God says the only sacrifice is the holy neshamot of tzaddikim, but there is no real sacrifices being done. And therefore, in this bracha, when we daven for real sacrifices, the way to say it is Yisrael, period, pause, and then say dividing between the sacrificial work and the prayers. On the other hand, came along the Tosfot and said, maybe you can punctuate it a different way. And that is like this. Bring back the sacrificial work. Stop. The korbanot today and the tefillot you shall accept. What does that mean? Says the Tosfot. In other words, Michael is actually in Shamayim doing what he's doing with the korbanot, and therefore we're asking God to accept that together with our tefillot down here. So literally a question of punctuation. Rav Soloveitchik liked the first interpretation, and this is quoted in his name in a book by Rabbi Gopin Zichrono Livracha, who just passed away, davening with the Rav, in which he says, "Tzrichim lafsik ben v'ishe Yisrael lamilot tfilatam." And even though the Tosfot brings both, the Rav liked the simple translation, which God bring back the sacrificial work and Ishe Yisrael and the Korbanot, and then we continue. But today we have Tfilatam Vatikabel Baratzon, we only have Tfilot. And this is repeated in the Machzer that they put out with Rav Soloveitchik's teachings, that indeed you should pause between the words Ishe Yisrael and Utfilatam. But I'd be remiss if I wouldn't mention Rav Elazar from Vermaisa, one of the Hasidei Ashkenaz, 1160 to 1230. He was a Talmud of the Yereim, and he happens to be the Rebbe of the Or Zarua. He wrote a book called Sod Razai, in which he says in a very Kabbalistic way that every single day that a tzaddik and tinokot shelo chatu, children, do what they're supposed to do, it's like a reach nicholach, a beautiful scent of the korbanot. Namely, when people come to shul, he says, on time, miyad im atfilah belo ichur, and they ultimately daven well, those are the ones that are sacrificing today. Namely, our prayers are in place of a sacrifice literally, not just the times of prayers, as the Gemara says, but rather our prayers per se. And from this perspective, Rav Soloveitchik did say in a drasha, not halachically, but in a drasha, quoted by Rav Shechter in Divrei Harav, that it's tavar talui banu, it's dependent on us. Mishanakriva korbanot be'esham mesiras nefesh, then tiktayem v'ishe yisrael tfilatam me'ara be'avat tekabel baratzon. When we will sacrifice with the proper Mesiras Nefesh, then it's Ishe Yisrael Tfilatam. If we don't have Mesiras Nefesh, then the Ishe Yisrael means in the future. But a Jew that has Mesiras Nefesh today, a Jew who's willing to sacrifice his life to have scars for the Jewish people, that is in place of a sacrifice today. So a real sacrifice it is not, but there's many, many Jews. On the top of the list, those that are serving in the armed forces of the Jewish people in Israel, that are willing to sacrifice for the Jewish people. Mesiras Nefesh doesn't mean to open a Gemara. Mesiras Nefesh means to close it on behalf of the Jewish people. And if you do that, then indeed, maybe you should punctuate your davening with and then say the Ishe Yisrael Tfilatam, the Mesiras Nefesh of the Jewish people, together with their tefillot, will hopefully be the kabel baratzon utihila ratzon tamid, always be favorable before God. So until we come back to the real sacrificial work, Mesiras Nefesh is called for when called for.